God bless Doug Poppa, an honest cop.
See, we did it, Doug. You don't come out, you don't buck the system. No matter what the reason is, you just can basically keep your mouth shut.
The high price one cop is paying for telling the truth.
Welcome, folks, to the Doug Poppa Podcast, episode 160 for Saturday, September 21st, 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of today's discussion is former executive director of the Las Vegas Police Foundation, Thomas Kovach. That's Kovach. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, I have a Twitter account, the Doug Poppa Podcast. It's at DougPoppa1, and that's where I post stuff that I get before I do my podcast. You can't do podcast every day, every hour of the day. I posted this on September 17th, and on the left-hand side, you'll see it says 1 of 2 update. On 9/13/2024, I posted this on X. I removed it because I mistakenly identified the person as a past president of the LVMPD Foundation. And then I said on 9/16/2024, LVMPD, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, charged former foundation executive director Thomas Kovach with 19 felony theft charges. And then on the bottom there you see what the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Foundation is. It's got a little synopsis there. And it says, "We are the LVMPD Foundation." It's a charity, ladies and gentlemen. It says Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department LVMPD Foundation is a 501(c) nonprofit organization that raises funds to support and supplement Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department programs and initiatives. Then on September 17th, same day, on the right-hand side, it says 2 of 2. It says Kovach was given a summons in lieu of an arrest. Why was that? Is that normal procedure for a person charged with multiple felonies of theft involving hundreds of thousands of dollars in misappropriation of funds? And then it goes on, and I say, sources say Kovach is married to retired Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Deputy Chief Matthew McCarthy. Is that why he was given special treatment? Because anybody else with 19 felony charges and there's amount of money involved most likely would have been booked into the Clark County Detention Center and would have to have been bailed out. In this case, Kovach was given a summons in lieu of arrest to appear in court for a first hearing on October 28th of 2024. On September 19th, I posted this on X, and I said, update, the first and last page of the 58-page declaration of warrant/summons completed by Las Vegas Metro Police Criminal Intelligence Detective Theodore Snodgrass on the investigation of Thomas Kovach. I will be discussing the entire report on the next episode of the Doug Poppa podcast. When we go back to one more thing here. Go back to what I posted on the 17th. And then I said, on the 13th, I posted what you see there on X. And then the reason why I pulled it off, because I called him a past president, and he was executive director. But then you go back on the bottom there, and then where it says Doug Poppa podcast, 1 hour, that is the post that I posted on September 13th of 2024. And it was only up for about an hour until I realized I identified the person as a past president. So I pulled it off. It had 164 views already. You could see on it because I was getting calls on this, why I pulled it off. And I say, breaking news, the Doug Poppa podcast has received information that a past president of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Foundation, was allegedly under investigation by the LVMPD Criminal Intelligence Section for financial improprieties involving the foundation. And I posted that on September 13th, and then I pulled it about an hour later, and 3 days later, I believe on Monday was the 17th, is when LVMPD arrested Thomas Kovach. Back on the screen here for a second. Okay, this was a press release or a statement from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Public Information Office to the news media. And let me get it up on the screen for you. See it, okay. And it says, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department conducted a year-long investigation into allegations of former Executive Director Thomas Kovach misappropriating funds for personal gain while employed with the LVMPD Foundation. The criminal theft investigation is ongoing. We are asking anyone who worked with Thomas Kovach on any nonprofit organization, and believe there was criminal wrongdoing to please contact detectives at pio@lvmpd.com. So it's an ongoing criminal investigation, and when I put these posts out, people were asking me, well, you showed when I get that in a second here, you showed the first and last page with a criminal complaint and the declaration of warrant summons. Where's the rest of it? And you'll get that here in today's podcast. You'll be able to see it on the podcast, stop it, freeze it, and go back and view it at your own, because it's the criminal complaint is 18 pages long, and I'm not going to read all 18 pages, just list the charges. The declaration of warrant summons, ladies and gentlemen, is 58 pages. I will read excerpts so you can get an idea of how this investigation started and progressed. And then, like they said, it's still ongoing. I want to put this up on the screen here. Okay. This is the first page of what I'll have on the screen. Is it's going to loop all 18 pages. But this is the first page of the summons in lieu of arrest criminal complaint. And as you can see, it came from Steve Wolfson's office, Clark County District Attorney. And it says State of Nevada plaintiff versus Thomas Joseph Kovach Jr., number, I think that's his ID number, 606-0409, and he's a defendant. So then again, and I'm not the only one asking this, there's people both on the police department that talk to me and in the criminal justice system are asking how this guy on 19 felony counts of misappropriating hundreds of thousands of dollars was given a summons in lieu of an arrest to appear in court on October 28th of 2024. So my question to you, District Attorney Steve Wolfson, is why did this happen? Did he get preferential treatment because he's married to a retired deputy chief from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and some of my sources are saying that this request from the district attorney's office, and I can't confirm it, this is just what people are talking, came from Sheriff McMahill, who runs the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. In other words, release him on a summons in lieu of arrest. And you can see that's the first page, and you'll see all 18 pages going off the screen here in a second. So that's my question to Mr. Wilson. Now, you saw the charges before, but here is a closer, this is a closer view, and I color-coded it. So as you can see on the top, it says his name, Thomas Joseph Kovach. He's the defendant. And then it says the charges on the left-hand side for Thomas Kovach. And then you can see there's 6 charges that stem from 2018 of theft, $3,500 or more. Then there's 3 charges of theft, $5,000. I believe it says 5,000. Or is it 3,500 still? Okay. Then there's 3 again for 3,500. But he has, as you can see, that goes back to. Hang on, I got to put my glasses on because the print is small on my printout. So you got 3 charges. You got 6 charges from 2018. You got 3 charges from 2019, same amount, $3,500 plus. Then you got 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 charges in 2020. In other words, this is when he was taking and misappropriating this money, this time period. 2 for $3,500 or more, and then 2 for $25,000 or greater, or less than $100,000. I believe that's what it says there. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4 charges there. Okay, one was for $5,000 or greater, but less than 25. The other one was for $25,000 or greater, but less than $100,000. And then 2 for $3,500 plus, and that was in 2020. And then we go to 2021, and they got him charged with 2 more theft charges, monies, $25,000 or greater, but less than $100,000. And then we have 4 charges from 2022, and they're all the same thing: theft of value, $5,000 or greater, but less than $25,000. So that gives you an example of the charges. So I'll leave that up there on the screen for another second. Okay. I've done financial investigations in the past for corporations, and they're complex. This was, so far what I see, this was a pretty thorough investigation, but it's still ongoing, ladies and gentlemen. It's they're still investigating this. Now, I'm going to loop this on the screen here for a second. This is, and it'll go for 5 seconds on each screenshot, but you can go back on the podcast because people are asking me, what about the documents they want to see? So if you have a computer screen that's pretty large, or you're looking at through a television, you'll be able to, pause the video and then read each page yourself. I'm not going to read it. These are the charges. I basically read the charges, but this is how they laid it out in 18 pages. So let's get that going here. Okay, and that's the first, second, third, fourth. It's about 18 pages long. And then I'll let that loop. It's only going to be about a minute or 2. And then I'll get back on the screen. Like I said, if you want to read each page, you can go back and pause each page on the video and screenshot it, and then you could print it out from a screenshot. So you'll have all the pages. Basically the same thing I just read. It lists all the charges and the dates during the investigation. So remember, this thing started in 2018 and went all the way to 2022. And there's a lot of red flags. I read the report, the 58-page declaration. The arrest report, in essence, what it was, but he wasn't arrested. He was released on a summons. And, a lot of red flags when you read the 58 pages. So I'm not going to read 58 pages, but it'll be about 5 minutes. It'll loop on the screen here in a second. So you get all the documents that I have, because I'm getting direct messages from people saying, where's the documents? Will you show them? Will you talk about it? But I'm not going to talk 58 pages because, one, you'll get bored with me. And number two, my voice will go. So, okay, now that was the complaint that you saw earlier that was filed by District Attorney Wilson's office. So now I want to put on the screen, and while it's going across the screen, because all 58 pages will go across the screen, and you go back and screenshot them, I'm not going to read all 58 pages. My voice will never make it, like I said, but I'm going to read excerpts. They're excerpts from some of the people that they interviewed, not all, and it's not the entire interview. They're just excerpts that I'm going to read so you get an idea of what happened. And remember, only one person so far was charged with a crime, and that is Thomas Kovach. So let's get this going on the screen. It's probably going to run, I think, for each one should show for 10 seconds, and there's 58 pages, so we're looking maybe about 6 minutes. So while that's going looping, I will read some of the excerpts. Okay, it's starting there. Remember I said earlier on that post that I did last week that it was investigated by that's what my sources would tell me, by the Criminal Intelligence Section. The detective who investigated this case is Criminal Intelligence Section Detective Theodore Snodgrass. That's Snodgrass. Am I spelling his name right? Yes. Okay. All these pages will go 10 seconds on each page. You got 58 pages. So I'm going to read page 1. T. Snodgrass, being first duly sworn, deposes and says that he is a detective with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, being so employed for a period of 16 years, assigned to investigate the crimes of 19 counts of theft, in violation of Nevada Revised Statute 205-0832, committed on or about April 12, 2018 through November 14, 2022, which investigation has developed Thomas Kovach as the perpetrator thereof. That declarant, who Snodgrass, developed the following facts in the course of the investigation of said crime, to wit. Before I start reading this, when I was writing for the Baltimore Post-Examiner as an investigative journalist years ago, I broke the story on LVMPD corrupt cop Rinetti. He's not a cop anymore, but in my report, and I have the link to that story in there if you want to read it. Detective Snodgrass was also involved in that investigation with criminal intelligence on the corrupt cop Lawrence Rinetti, ex-cop. Okay, and let's go on to what he says here. On October 24, 2023, your declarant and senior financial analyst, Colin Hayes, Haynes, Haynes, met with Todd Fasulo and Karen Marben, Marben, reference to a previous LVMPD Foundation employee, which they identified as Thomas Kovach, CS number 6060409. Fasulo is currently an executive member of the board for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Foundation. Marben is currently the executive director for the foundation and took the role over from Kovach in August of 2023. When Marben took over as executive director, she began to look through the foundation records and found questionable activities and expenditures during the tenure of former executive director Kovach. Some of the issues Marben had when reviewing the foundation records was significant financial support provided to a nonprofit which was identified as Project Real, REAL, another nonprofit organization. Contributions to other nonprofit organizations which Kovach was involved with either as executive director or on the board of directors, and the lack of information given to board members which sat on the board for the LVMPD Foundation. So, and then bottom of the page is from page 1. They list again. I already said what the foundation was, so I'm not going to read it. Remember, I'm just reading excerpts here. I'm going on to page 2, excerpts from page 2. And just so you know, Todd Fasulo is a retired Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department assistant sheriff. He retired, I believe, in December of 2017, and I did some stories over the years that mention him. Anyway, nothing to do with this. It goes on here and says, Marvin was able to go into further details about what she had discovered from when she began as executive director. Marvin stated when she started, she began having meetings and conversations with LVMPD leadership and the overseers of sub-accounts. Marvin stated feedback was overwhelmingly negative about Kovach, and the financial director, Flor Bernal, FLORBRNAL, CS number 2502241. Marvin was told from the foundation staff they believe Kovach and Bernal were misusing funds for the past several years. Marvin was not able to get specific references to the misuse of funds at the time of the conversations. Marvin stated she was told by all members besides Kovach and Bernal were blocked out of their accounting system, which were identified as QuickBooks and Sage, S-A-G. Those are accounting software. It goes on. While researching through the accounts, Marvin noticed some interesting things with Project Real. Marvin noticed not only was Kovach the executive director for the foundation, but he was the executive director for Project Real. On one occasion, she noticed a donation was made to the foundation from Gratitude Project for $37,500 on March 3, 2020. NAMI, N-A-M-I, Oneida, O-N-E-D-A, Oneida, was the donor and the founder of Gratitude Project. Oneida was also a sitting board member for the foundation. On March 17, 2020, Kovach wrote a check from the foundation to Project Real for $37,500. Marvin didn't know if the board approved this, nor did she know about the contribution. There was no invoice or documentation for the donation. The only documentation in Sage was the $37,500 contribution to Project Real. Remember, these are all excerpts, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just reading. Then I'm going on to page 3. Marvin was able to provide financial records and documentation as executive director for the foundation. Through the investigation, records were obtained through various sources, including financial records obtained using grand jury subpoenas issued to financial institutions. Below are the documents reviewed and which source they were obtained from. And they got that listed, and go back and get them off the entire report when you read it. Then I'm going on to page 4. They interviewed on May 7, 2024, your declarant, along with senior financial analyst Haynes, conducted an interview with Lisa Tomlin Kerr, K-U-R-R, a director of development. Tomlin Kerr, this is what she said. When she started with the foundation, she was contacting, let me read this again. When she started with the foundation, she was being contacted by captains with the LVMPD, which were upset because they were not getting the money which was approved by the foundation. Captains would attempt to call for Flor Bernal, who was the director of finances, and would not hear from her. In return, they would contact Tomlin Kerr for answers. When Tomlin Kerr would speak to them, Kovach would get upset and tell her to leave them, and to have them contact him directly and only him. This is from page 5. Same person they're interviewing, Tomlin Kerr, was asked about how the foundation was operating with Kovach being executive director and Bernal being the director of finance. They both would change the records for money purposes. Kovach and Bernal would, quote, double dip, unquote, in the finances. Tomlin Kerr stated Kovach would have Bernal take money from a department or sub-accounts such as community engagement and use the money for other fundraising events. And that goes on. These are excerpts, lady. It's not, I'm missing a lot of stuff here, but I want to give you an idea of what's going on with the investigation. When Kovach or Bernal would take money from the other department or sub-accounts, this donor, which made the donation, would still get the recognition for the donation. The money would just be used for something else. Tomlin Carr was asked about who signed the checks for the foundation. Tomlin Carr stated Kovach was the only person who would sign the checks. The foundation would only raise and spend money on LVMPD-related events. To her knowledge, money obtained from donors only went to LVMPD, not any outside entity. Tomlin Carr stated Kovach had told her the foundation was lacking money because they were spending all their money on the RBT building. The RBT building is a multi-jurisdictional training facility used to have officers train in one facility instead of multiple facilities throughout the Las Vegas city. I mentioned there's another podcast one day. This is a multi-billion dollar, it means RBT is, it's training, reality-based training center. It's a multi-million dollar building, and donations came from the foundation and to help build that. That's what they're talking about there. Then that says later on, Tomlin Carr was asked if there was a reason why there were so many different departments and sub-accounts identified as community engagement funds, Office of Community Engagement, and OCE. Tomlin Carr stated the coding was, now we're going to page 6, if you want to go back and reference this, sloppy and was not sure if there was a reason for that. Tomlin Carr stated Bernal had the only access to make those accounts. Bernal would give employees limited access to the program. Tomlin Carr stated that would make her job more difficult. I'm going to run that loop again, so you're going to see a black screen here. Go back in with me again. Tomlin Carr stated she started getting contacted by individuals asking for the money, which Tomlin Carr knew the checks had already been remitted. She knew Bernal had taken those checks home, and she was not sure why this had happened. Tomlin Carr reaffirmed only Bernal and Kovach were the only access to the bank accounts for the foundation. Now I'm going to page 11. On May 8, 2024, your declarant, along with senior financial analyst Haynes, conducted an interview with Brooke, Tuerke, events manager. Brooke started working in the foundation in February of 2022. Brooke stated her responsibility includes overseeing the large fundraising events. Brooke's relationship with Kovach was weird. She further explained Kovach was, quote, never there, unquote, at the office, and if he was, his door would be closed. If she had any questions, she would try and ask him, but he would usually never get back to her with an answer. Brooke stated Kovach would only come to her desk and ask for anything and then leave for the day. I'm on page 13. They interviewed LaToya Holman, event and outreach coordinator, previously employed, it says. On May 15th, they interviewed her, and Holman stated Kovach was known to have complete control of the money from the foundation. When she worked for the foundation, it quickly became abusive and toxic. She further explained she would go to Kovach to explain issues she had with other employees, and Kovach wouldn't do anything to support her. Holman would ask where some of the money was going, and Kovach would get angry and mad with her, asking about finances, balances, and where the money was for specific events. Holman explained Kovach and Bernal were extremely close. Bernal would do anything Kovach would ask her, even knowing if it was wrong. Holman stated when people would contact her reference to getting their money, she eventually started to tell people to contact board members because Kovach and Bernal wouldn't pay them. Now I'm on page 16, and they interviewed Jason Williams, Director of Development, previously employed for the foundation. They interviewed him on May 16th. Williams started working for the foundation in October of 2020. He left the foundation in April of 2022. Williams stated while working for Kovach at the foundation, he developed a lot of trauma from him. Williams stated Kovach would be in and out of the office, and he never knew where Kovach was at. Kovach would put a lot of pressure to perform and raise money. Kovach would give Williams deadlines to raise money for the foundation. Williams stated Bernal was the human resources director and director of finances. Williams stated when there was any issues, he would have to go to Bernal, but she and Kovach were so close, she wouldn't solve any of the issues. Williams had a very good relationship with the officers of LVMPD. Specifically, he worked with Sasha Larkin and women of Metro. And Sasha Larkin is now retired. I reported that in May. She was an assistant sheriff. And I did some stories on her and Sheriff McMahill, as you all know if you follow me. Anyway, Williams stated it was hard when Larkin would come to him and ask where the funding for Women of Metro and other different programs she was running. Larkin would call and ask where the money was, which was raised for her programs, and Williams was unable to tell her because Kovach would not explain where the money was. Now I'm on page 18. Williams stated he and other employees would have conversations about why they would see money being donated to other entities which have no relationship with them, meaning the foundation. Williams stated they were afraid to go to Bernal and Kovach in fear of retaliation. Williams was not allowed to go to the board with any question because Kovach would get upset and they were in fear of being fired. Williams stated Kovach kept everyone isolated from the board, so Kovach was able to tell board members what he wanted them to know. Now I'm on page 22. They interviewed Todd Fasulo here, and I said he's the former retired assistant sheriff, and he was on the board, and as his executive board member. On June 17th, declarant and financial analyst Haynes, conducted an interview with Todd Fasulo. Fasulo began working with the foundation in 2018 as a board member. In 2019, Fasulo became the vice president of the board, and in 2020, he became the president of the board. In 2023, Fasulo stepped down as president and stayed on as an executive board member. Fasulo stated Kovach was already working as the executive director when he started with the foundation. Fasulo explained Kovach's role and responsibility was the day-to-day operational person for the foundation. Kovach would fundraise, put events together, pay the bills, and ran the staff. Fasulo stated when he first started on the board, the foundation was spending a lot of money on the RBT building, the training building. These are just excerpts, ladies and gentlemen. This is not everything that these people are saying, because I'll be here all day reading 58 pages. And it goes on, Fasulo stated he met with Sheriff McMahill in 2022, referenced money which was supposed to be used at a conference. During the conversation, Fasulo was asked if he had spoken to any of the previous, now we're going to page 2023, employees, members about Kovach. It was questioned because previous employees were speaking to people about how Kovach was not a good supervisor, leader, stealing money, and misappropriating money. Fasulo stated he called Jason Williams and LaToya Holman, referenced their expertise with Kovach. Fasulo stated when he spoke to them, they told him on how difficult it was working with Kovach. No one was allowed to know about the financial aspect of the foundation, how Kovach was a control freak, and how they suspected Kovach of doing things that they did not have proof of. Fasulo stated he looked at the bank statements, but he could not find anything of cause. Fasulo would receive phone calls from LVMPD executive staff members, reference to them not being able to get a hold of Kovach, reference to $300,000, which was raised for a conference. Fasulo was told there was $300,000 which was raised by the executive staff for this conference. When executive staff could not get a hold of Kovach, they were told the foundation was taking 10% for administrative fees. Fasulo believed this was a mistake and began looking deeper into the sub-accounts balances. Fasulo found out the sub-accounts did not have the money that they were supposed to have. Shortly after this incident, Fasulo brought this to the attention of the rest of the board members. While looking over the balances and accounts, it was believed that Kovach was misappropriating funds from the LVMPD Foundation. It was decided to fire Kovach from the foundation. Fasulo stated the foundation was only to support LVMPD. There is no reason for the foundation to support anything outside of the LVMPD. Then I'm on page 24. They interviewed Deandra Ransom, account specialist previously employed. She was interviewed on June 18th. It says Ransom began working for the foundation in 2021 and was hired by Bernal. Ransom was hired as an accounting specialist. Then we go to page 25. These are just excerpts I'm pulling out just to give you an idea of what a cluster this thing was. Ransom stated Kovach was always moving money around. With the money issues, she noticed the foundation treasurer, Joe Murphy, was donating money to help the foundation stay afloat. Ransom stated during her time with the foundation, the bank accounts were always short on money, and that is why Kovach was always moving money around. Ransom stated she never understood why Kovach was donating $10,000 to other nonprofit organizations when the foundation was struggling with fundraising. I'm on page 28. They interviewed Tom Roberts, previous board member. So you know Tom Roberts is also a retired assistant sheriff from the LVMPD. And then they interviewed him on July 11, 2024. And it says Roberts began working with the foundation in 2013 as treasurer. In 2017, Roberts became president of the foundation. Roberts stated the foundation brought Kovach in to assist with organizing the foundation. Eventually, Kovach became a paid employee and executive director. Roberts stated he, Kovach, and Joe Murphy were on the signature cards for the bank accounts. Roberts stated when he was the president of the foundation, everything that was purchased had to go through the board. And then continuing on, it says Roberts stated the foundation was to support LVMPD and not outside organizations. And then I'm going into page 29. It says Roberts was shown, top of page 29, the donations to Project Real. We spoke about that earlier. Roberts stated he was the president for the first couple and stated he never agreed to pay Project Real. He also stated his electronic signature should have never been used on any of the checks to Project Real, and he never gave anyone authorization to use his electronic signature for the donations. So obviously money's going out of the foundation to this Project Real that Kovach was also involved with. And the way I read it, it looks like Tom Roberts' electronic signature basically was used without authorization. So we got a lot of, these are financial investigations, are very involved and very deep. Then it goes on, Joe Murphy, executive board treasurer, interviewed on July 11, 2024. Murphy began working with the foundation in 2014. I'm skipping a lot of stuff here. This is when Murphy started noticing the foundation didn't have as much money as it was thought to have. Murphy stated, after the foundation began looking through finances and noticed money he sent in, let's look at this again. Murphy stated after the foundation began looking through finances and noticed money be sent in different areas, they decided to fire Kovach and move to a new executive director. Murphy stated the board was in disbelief when they found out how much money Kovach had spent without board approval. And I'm on the bottom of page 30. They interviewed Flor Bernal, Gonzalez, financial director previously employed. August 15, 2024, they interviewed her. She confirmed she worked for the foundation as the director of operations and finance director from approximately October 2019 through August 2023 and reported directly to Kovach. And goes on, another excerpt here, still with her. She says, when money was donated to the foundation, the recipient unit within Metro had their own sub-account in the accounting system, and donations were documented within the specific sub-account. All funds went into a single bank account on which Kovach was a signer. Flor Bernal believed that the foundation board president was possibly also a signer. All requests for funding from LVMPD had to be approved through the chain of command up to the assistant sheriff, then to the chief financial officer, Rich Hogan. Once approved, the request would come to the foundation and would be entered into their accounting system. Now I'm on page 32, still with Flor Bernal. Flor was familiar with Project Real. Project REAL educates youth about the court system. Kovach was involved with Project REAL. Floor knew the foundation was providing funding to Project REAL, and she believed the foundation were paying for the printing of their booklets. Floor saw Project REAL books with the foundation logo. Floor never actually discussed the nature or purpose of the funding given to Project REAL for Kovach. The foundation did not collaborate with Project REAL to her knowledge. And continuing on, Floor stated Kovach would log into the bank account to make the payments to Project REAL from the foundation bank account. When Project REAL, there were no purchasing requests submitted to the foundation. Project REAL was never listed on the consent agenda. And then continuing on down, when Floor asked Kovach for backup documentation for these payments, she was never successful in getting anything. Floor felt that it was odd that the foundation was paying Project REAL, but she did not feel she had the authority to question Kovach about this. Floor described that Kovach, quote, wouldn't welcome, unquote, such questions. Now, coming to the end of this is 58 pages. I just went briefly through some of these excerpts. Now we're getting to, we're on page 58 of 58 pages. It says search warrants. On August 15, 2024, your declarant was in possession of a search warrant for Kovach's residence located at Redacted in Henderson, Clark County, Nevada. The search warrant was signed by the Honorable Judge Bluth. The search warrant was for his residence, vehicles, and for the person of Thomas Kovach. The items sought to be seized included cellular devices, computers, computer servers, computer tablets, portable drives, disks, and any additional digital storage devices found to be under the control or in the possession of Thomas Kovach. The search warrant also included documentation, including documents from LVMPD Foundation and Project REAL. I'm on page 57 now. During the search of the residence, 2 cellular devices were handed over by Kovach. 3 iPads and an Apple MacBook were also located. During the search, multiple documents were located in reference to Project REAL. Documents from LVMPD Foundation were also recovered. This is all from his residence. Those documents included board meeting agendas, minutes, P&L reports, and financial statements. Your declarant was missing multiple agenda packets. All were recovered but one. In all meetings which were located, there was no mention of Project REAL. A supplemental search warrant was obtained and signed by the Honorable Judge Bluth for the search of the electronic devices. The devices are being extracted and will be analyzed after this document is submitted. To note, your declarant attempted to interview with Kovach. After a short time, Kovach requested an attorney. And then they did a search warrant on Bernal. Your declarant was also in possession of a search warrant for Bernal's residence, located at Redacted, Henderson, Clark County, Nevada. The search warrant was signed by the Honorable Judge Bluth. The search warrant was for her residence, vehicles, and for the person of Flor Bernal Gonzalez. The items sought to be seized included cellular devices, computers, computer servers, computer tablets, portable drives, disks, and any additional digital storage devices found to be under the control or in the possession of Flor Bernal Gonzalez. During the search of the residence, 1 cellular devices was handed over by Bernal. No other items were located during the search. While at Bernal's residence, Sergeant Hanshaw, Hanshew, and Senior Financial Analyst Haynes conducted an interview with her. A synopsis of that interview is documented above in the declaration. That's part of what I read just a little while ago. A supplemental search warrant was obtained and signed by the Honorable Judge Bluth for the search of Bernal's cellular device. The device is being extracted and will be analyzed after this document is submitted. Bottom of page 57, summary. Between April 12, 2018 and November 14, 2022, Kovach misused his position as executive director of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Foundation to direct $349,000 of foundation funds to Project REAL, another charitable organization on which he served as executive director. Kovach knew that directing foundation money to another charity was not an appropriate use of foundation funds and not in keeping with the mission and purpose of the foundation. Now going up to page 58, Kovach knew that any such request for funding needed to be put before the board of directors of the LVMPD Foundation. Kovach failed to ask the board of directors for their permission to use foundation funds this way. Furthermore, after making these payments, Kovach caused the payments to be miscoded within the foundation accounting system, placing these expenses in inappropriate subaccounts and thereby disguising the payments as a different type of expense. This had the effect of hiding the payments from the board of directors. To further hide these expenses from the board of directors, Kovach failed to identify the payments in the IRS Form 990 filed at the conclusion of each tax year for 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Those are the payments, I believe, for the IRS form for the foundation, not his personal. I believe that's what it is. Well, yeah, it is, because let me go back and read again. To further hide these expenses from the board of directors, Kovach failed to identify the payments in the IRS Form 990 filed at the conclusion of each tax year for 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Kovach knew how these payments should be classified on Form 990 as, quote, donations to others, unquote, but failed to appropriately classify the payments from the foundation. Once the funds were in the possession of Project Real, Kovach used $182,100, or over 52%, to pay himself. Freaking goddamn crook, excuse me, thinking out loud here. On 16, alleged crook, on 16 occasions when Kovach paid himself without the funds transferred from the foundation, Project Real had insufficient funds to cover the payment to Kovach. Boy, we'll be looking to be digging into that nonprofit too, and any others, like they said, connected with this guy. Wherefore, declarant prays that a warrant of arrest be issued for suspect Thomas Kovach on the charges of 19 counts of theft, violation of Nevada Revised Statutes 205-.80832. I declare under penalty of perjury under the law of the state of Nevada that the foregoing is true and correct. Executed on this 26th day of August 2024. Signed, Declarant Theodore Snodgrass. Witness, Colin Haynes. August 26th, 2024. Okay. I think we ran out there. Let me get back on the screen here because you were just hearing my voice. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that's what we have so far. We're 47 minutes. I can't read 58 pages. You would first really get bored reading it, but those are some excerpts from it. Like I said, right now only one person is charged with a crime reference to this investigation, and that is Thomas Kovach. But as this these type of investigations go on, when it goes to a grand jury, because he's coming up for a hearing in October, but he hasn't been indicted by a grand jury yet. They arrested him. Well, they didn't arrest him. They gave him a summons. And ladies and gentlemen, that's completely freaking bizarre. Because I'd like to know from the district attorney's office how many citizens were arrested for felonies involving lesser amounts of money that were booked into the Clark County Detention Center and had to post bail or whatever to get out. And this guy, with the amount of money that they allege in this declaration of him misappropriating, and the charge him with 19 felonies, but he's given a summons to appear in court. There's something screwy going on, and that's just not me. That's a lot of people talking to me about this. Something's not right with this. And I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I said that when I posted that thing last week, but months ago is when I was hearing from my sources that Kovach was under investigation. And then I just put that thing out last week, and of course they gave him the summons. The declaration of arrest was filed, and the complaint from the district attorney's office, and they released him. In lieu of arrest, they released him on a summons. But for years, I go back on my notes the other day. For years, people were talking to me, off and on, nothing specific, going back 2017, 2016, and I don't think he was even there at that time. That there's a lot of money coming in and out of the foundation, and there was just a lot of allegations, of course, that nobody had any facts on it. But, the other aspect of this, too, is obviously whatever money he used for himself, misappropriated for himself, now we're talking federal tax evasion. So will the criminal investigation section of IRS, maybe they're already involved in this, I don't know, but they should be really looking at that foundation going back years, because I don't know how this went on from 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, and that he still stayed in that position. And basically, like you read on those excerpts, that nobody said anything, because they were afraid of him or whatever. But there's going to be more coming out of this, and that's what I'm hearing from my sources. There's be more to this. So anyway, and of course he's charged with federal tax evasion, because I'm sure he didn't put on his tax forms that this money he was getting allegedly being paid to himself. We have to see on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it right now. With the allergy and stuff, it's hard to talk on the voice, but I want to say one thing. In episode 161, which hopefully be published tomorrow night, you remember in December of 2022, the Doug Poppa podcast broke the Paula Prado Zuniga story. That was a 74-year-old Hispanic woman who was murdered by her son, stabbed 69 times, as Las Vegas Metro police officers stood outside her apartment, were stacked up, ready to go in, and were told to stand down by then Sergeant Daniel Cordero. And he said because SWAT was coming. Well, before SWAT arrived, the son came out who killed her, and then the cops who wanted to go in to save her life went in, and of course they saw a body. And I said, and I even posted another thing on Twitter the other day, an excerpt from another podcast I did where I mentioned it. Some of them, I understand, a PTSD, because they're thinking we should have just told the sergeant, the hell with you, we're going in to save her. And they should have, because it should have went from a barricade hostage situation to an immediate rescue attempt. Once they heard her screams as she was being stabbed, they wanted to go in to save her life, and they didn't do it. Now, I published that. It was an exclusive story. I broke that story in December of 22. It was sent out to all the media outlets in Las Vegas, and nobody touched it. And then I did an update in June of 2023 when I said the family hired a local Las Vegas attorney. His name was Ryan Alexander. And then about a week ago, last week, Ryan Alexander filed a federal civil rights lawsuit for negligence, violation of civil rights for the estate of Paula Prado Zuniga. And I put that on my Twitter. But I have a lot more information on this that I never talked about on YouTube, and I will be doing that tomorrow. And then we'll get that out. So sad state of affairs, but what are you going to do? And then as usual, every podcast I do, I keep getting more information about shady stuff and scandals and cover-ups going on with the Metro. So, I got a lot of work to do here in the next couple of months. So tomorrow, expect 161 to be out with a lot of information on the Paula Prado Zuniga case. And like I said, some of it I haven't mentioned in podcasts and stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I find these investigations fascinating because I used to do this type of work. And like I said, go back and you can see all 58 pages. Just freeze and pause if you want to read everything. If you're into investigation, because people tell me when we can be able to see the entire report. Yeah, it's on the screen there. So anyway, we're at 53 minutes. What time is it here in Vegas? 6:50 p.m., 18:50. Okay, it's almost 7 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, like I said, episode 161, and we'll be talking about the Paula Prado Zuniga incident. And see you on the next one.
If I wouldn't do it all over again, I would take the badge and I would leave it on somebody's desk and get out of police work.
One man who confronted truth and consequences.